He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. Over 30 years in the industry, an industry veteran. Welcome, Lance Aldredge.
Thank you. Thanks for having me
Thank you
today.
so much, Lance,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
coming. It's been an honor
Well,
to just have
well,
you
I'm very
here.
honored to be asked.
You're such a great person. I love to see you on set, and it's just awesome being around you. And you're singing and just everything. You're such
Yeah.
a talented person.
Well, thank you.
So let's get started talking about just all the great things that's going on in your life. Over 30 years in the industry, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the experiences you've had in the industry and what made you join and just everything.
Well, oh my goodness. You know, I guess you could say it's a full circle story because I grew up in theater. I grew up singing in church choir.
Oh my goodness.
And hair. I remember asking my mother where the bobby pins were when I was like, 10, 12 years old. And one day my father came home with this wig. He said, Nancy, we're going to be going to a lot of parties soon here. So I want you to learn how to, put this wig on. And so she looked at the wig, looked at me and says, Lance, would you show me how to put that wig on? And I was like, maybe 9, 10 years old, but she knew that, and so I've just always enjoyed doing hair and singing and theater. So it just all kind of came around full circle.
So you were actually acting in theater? Oh my God.
1976, I was Paul Revere running up and down the aisle saying, the British are coming, the British are coming.
Oh my God, that is so fascinating. And sometimes I see all your pictures from back then and it's just like, I look at them and I'm like, man, what a life, what an amazing adventure your life is.
Yeah.
Where were you in theater at? Were you in Tennessee in theater? Or was
right. Yeah. Okay. Local theater. And, I listened to your podcast of Last Looks.
Yeah.
Before I came into it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is my life. It's everything. You were playing with Barbie dolls and I was playing with Barbie dolls too.
Yes.
And sometimes that was the icebreaker. We have all these girls who are like, hey, anybody playing with Barbie dolls?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I would go into somebody's house with see their dolls and all the hair be cut off or burned off. I'm like, I'm going to try not to be too judgmental. I guess they're just trying to work on their skills, even when they were kids. But
so you started with your Barbie.
Yeah, well, with the Barbie dolls, oh, you know it.
Yes, and it just kept on going.
Kept on going, and learned how to braid hair and tease hair. I have an aunt named Phyllis, and she'd say, "Do the Phyllis, Lance." And I knew what she meant. She meant Phyllis Diller, who had that wild, crazy hair. So everybody just loved to sit down and have me brush and tease out their hair, when I was a kid.
Yes. Oh
and so, I went on. I was the oldest of 3, and I said, I've got to get my college degree, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And so I went to University of Tennessee, and I was trying to decide what my major was going to be. And so I got a liberal arts, was pursuing a liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, you just made auditions for Guys and Dolls. It was this musical at University of Tennessee. And they said, if you declare your major as theater, you can get a 4-hour A for being in that show. I'm like, well, sign me up.
Yes.
So I changed my major to theater, and the rest is history. Got my degree.
God.
And I was going to this beauty school to get my hair cut while I was in college. And I had so much fun going in and just talking to the people and just the energy and all. And while I was about to graduate, and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with my theater degree? I might have to go back, get my master's, or But this guy that was cutting my hair, he says, "Well, do you need a creative outlet?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Well, go to beauty school, mate. You don't have to ask me twice."
Wow.
So I signed up for beauty school as soon as I graduated. Well, I graduated from college, spent a summer up at Pigeon Forge, not at Dollywood, but across the street at Magic World, doing the summer show. It's like a 50s review, 4 days a week. No, 4 shows a day, 5 days a week. We had this 50s review. Girls in poodle skirts and the guys flinging the girls over our backs and all this crazy stuff. And but the money I made from that show that summer, I put toward beauty school that fall.
Wow.
And I knew I was wanting to come down to Knoxville to go to Tennessee School of Beauty.
Yeah.
And I met somebody who lived across the street from me up in Knoxville who was graduating in architecture. And we started dating. And then he got a job as soon as I signed up for beauty school to move to Atlanta.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was like, well, you can try to find a school down here in Atlanta. And I came down and looked at some schools, but I had this really good bond with this school that I was going to up in Knoxville. So I said, well, I've got to finish up here. So he would come up every weekend. He'd come up to it. Bless his heart, he would drive up from Atlanta to Knoxville and see me, visit with me every weekend. Yeah. And then when I finished school, I had my car packed and ready to move to Atlanta.
To Atlanta, yes.
And, you know, I knew there was a lot of theater down here, the Fox Theater, the Alliance, and all that. And so I was singing a solo on the Fox Theater with this benefit my first year of living here. Mm-hmm. And then I did a lot of, back in the 80s, unfortunately, there were a lot of AIDS benefits.
Yes, yes.
And this one called Heartstrings that we had at the Fox, and we had the guy that Shaft, what was his name? Here, I'm going to start with names, just trying to remember names.
Yeah,
but Ruth Buzzy, and then the guy that Isaac Hayes.
Okay.
You know, some of the stars that were in the show, and I got to be in that. And then I was asked to be a walk-on with the Atlanta Opera, La Boheme.
So and you did opera too?
I did opera. You know, as soon as I moved down here, and but I'm trying not to be too long-winded.
No, you're fine. This is why you're here. We are here to listen. We want to hear all your stories, all your treasures. Those are treasures, okay?
Well, one of the main stars of La Boheme, with her solos and everything, I was talking to her after the show one night, and she had this beautiful wig on, and I noticed she had like this material around her hairline. It was blending in with her makeup, and I said, "What is that?" She said, "That's lace." And I was like, "Oh, I never knew about lace and wigs." And
right.
So I was learning, you know, right there.
That was a light bulb that went on.
Yes. And so anyway, I started pursuing my clientele with the salon I was working at, and then I moved to this salon, skipping forward, a few years. And at the salon, I was talking to this girl, and I looked at her business card, and she said, had TVs, movies. I said, "What, do you repair TVs on the side?" He laughed. She said, "No, I do hair for movies and TV." Wow. So that was Don Turner.
Wow.
And so what went off in my head at the time was, oh, I want to be a walk-on. I want to be an extra in one of these shows. Right. And she said, well, bring your 8x10 glossy and resume then, tomorrow, and I'll talk to casting. Well, at the time, I had my 8x10 glossy and resume, and I brought it to her, and she got me started. And then John was in the picture at the time. And so both of us, we were on this, I think it was a Tyler Perry movie with Cicely Tyson.
Wow. Oh, my God.
And so that was an experience, and so some years went by. I was doing that on the side along with doing my hair. And some time passed, and then some clients came in one day. I was doing their hair, and they said, we got this wedding scene at our church this weekend. You ought to come, be in it too. And I'm like, oh, twist my arm. So it didn't take much twisting my arm. So I went ahead and signed up for that. And as luck would have it, there was already back in the 90s, there were a lot of shows going on. And I said, is Don Turner helping with background?
Yeah.
And Maurice Beeman and Don Turner were working on that show. I said, well, have her come out and want to talk to her. So I came out and caught up with Dawn.
Yeah.
It had been a while, and since I had seen her. And I said, well, and that's when I said, well, if y'all ever need any extra help with hair, let me know.
Yes.
And the rest was history.
Oh, my God.
I got home. I barely pulled in my driveway, and I got this call from a PA or whatever on this show that she was working on. Can you show up tomorrow morning at 5:42 in the parking lot of Botanical Gardens? Yeah. I thought, 5:42, is that code? What does that mean, 5:42?
Right.
So I showed up the next day in the dark and early, 5:42. And that day I met Charles Gregory. I met Evelyn.
Oh, wow. Oh, Miss
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Oh yes.
I hope to get her on the show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
And
that'd be wonderful.
there's a lot of great people I met that just going around and just talking to people. And Charles Gregory came up to me and we were talking. And he says, "You ought to join the union." I'm like, "Union?
Union,
What does
yeah,
that mean?" I
right.
didn't even, I was
Yes,
clueless.
of
But I
course.
said, "Okay, you know." So I looked into that, and that was a journey. You know,
Yeah.
it took a year or two
Whew.
getting your hours, your days.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
you know, I came across Monty, you know, and he's saying, "Well,
Yes.
come help us out at the Atlanta Opera." You know, I
Yes,
got
yes.
days in
That's
there,
so good.
and the Fox Theater, you know, and that was a natural because my theater days,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
and being backstage doing quick changes on
Yes, so
the
you knew all about the quick
all
changes and
change,
all
yeah,
of
with
that
the
stuff.
wigs and all that, yeah. So
Amazing,
and
absolutely amazing and mind blowing how things kind of like link up and make the connections and
mhm,
destiny finds its way together. You know what I mean?
right.
Um, what were some of your like? What is some of your favorite memories? Like one of just you could just give me one of your favorite memories of being in the union and just being involved in all of the many
Well,
beautiful things.
one of the first things that comes to mind
You were gonna say
is
something. I saw you moment. What were you gonna say?
everybody's going to have to meet John here,
Yeah,
John here in a minute.
he's gonna have to come over here
Yeah,
on the camera.
yeah. So 42 was one of my first major films
Okay.
with Chadwick Boseman. Bless his heart, he was such a talent.
Wow.
You know, I got to work with him.
Him.
Yeah, I got to work with him on Black Panther too.
Okay.
You know, I went to him on set one day and said, "You remember me in 42?" He said, "Of course I do." And we shook hands and talked for a minute.
Wow, that's awesome.
Really did.
Dang.
But that's when I realized that I liked period work because this was 1942. 42 was his number on his jersey, but 47 was the year that this movie took place about Jackie Robinson and getting into the major
the
baseball
major league,
league.
right?
Yeah, he was the first African American
Wow.
to get in the major leagues. And so we would have to fill stadiums of people, and all in the 40s styles. And I would, you know, I was asked, oh gosh, here we go with names. But anyway, I was asked to come down to Macon for several weeks to prep all the background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had to talk about barbering. I had to cut, you know, like a whole baseball team, several baseball teams. They'd be lined up, come in to get their haircut for this for these styles from the 40s.
Yeah.
And I'd ask all the guys, "Do you play baseball?" And everyone did. And I said, "Well, what was your position on the team?" Every one of them said, "Oh, I was a pitcher. I was pitching."
Of course, you gonna say that.
Pitcher, right. And yeah, I come home at night and I'd just be covered in hair from head to toe. But it was so much fun.
That was one of the most mind-blowing movies that I've seen. Just the I didn't know, you know what I mean, how much stuff that is it Jackie Robinson that he had went through. Mm-hmm. You know, until I saw the film, I was like, oh my God, you know. That was a very fascinating film, and to be involved in it, that's amazing for you to be able to be involved in a movement like that. And
you know, I'll come home. John is always watching cable TV.
John, you have to come on over here.
I know. And but he's seen that 42 so many times. He loves that movie.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Burt Reynolds. Well, yeah, Burt Reynolds. Somebody called me one day out of the blue. Could you come and department head this movie with Burt Reynolds? I'm like,
amazing.
What?
Amazing.
You what? You know, amazing. So I said, yeah, I'll sign up.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that was a great experience. So I've done, you know, I've done a lot of keying for movies, and I've department headed a few things. And one of the first things that I did was with Burt Reynolds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. What type of advice can you give to people that are just coming into the industry, or even some of the people that have been in for just a minute? You know, what type of advice do you have? I know you have so many, but
I think like you were saying on your interviews, like always be open to learn.
Oh yes.
To learn and to share, you know, what you know with people. And when you come into the workplace and you see, you know, what people are doing and what the your department head or whoever's in charge of background, or you know, what they're looking for.
Yes.
You know, because every show's different. And like in light of the writer's strike right now, you just got to be flexible.
You do. Oh my God, that's such good advice.
Yeah, and just as any business, not just hair, makeup, not the movie business, but life in general, things can just turn on a dime
in a minute.
That. So you just got to be ready to be flexible and open-minded and
have other stuff other things lined up too. Don't just depend on one thing.
Right, exactly.
I know every time we're on set together, I'm hearing you humming or singing something on set, and I'm just like, yes, because I'm a singer at heart. My dad was a singer, so I'm always looking forward to you singing something. And we were just in Florida not too long ago, and you started singing, and my whole heart just leaped out of my chest because you were singing Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And
I love Frank
Fly
Sinatra.
Me to the Moon.
Fly me to the moon and let me dance among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Yes. I saw this show recently, documentary about, when the original guys flew to the moon and landed, and there was a cassette, or I don't know, back in the technology back then, I think it was cassette at the time. A reel, I'm not sure. But they had a recording of Frank Sinatra singing "Fly Me to the Moon."
Oh my God!
When they landed on the moon.
That is one of my favorite songs in the world. I'm telling you, when you started singing that, my heart just kind of became alive. Because you get sleepy when you're on set. You have to stay real late. Right. I heard him sing. I said, wait a minute. Are there any final words you would like to say to our audience before we go?
Oh my goodness! Just keep the faith.
Yes.
We are all talented, and as I was told, years ago in the doing hair in the salon, we are all ladies and gentlemen working on ladies and gentlemen, and we all have a good feature. You can sometimes you're digging and trying to find that good feature in somebody, but everybody has a good feature that you can bring out in their beauty.
Right. That is so true. Everybody has one. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much, Lance, for coming, and I just love you so much. Thank you for everything, and may your career just continue to grow and blossom.
Thank you.
And more adventures.
More
journeys along the way.
Oh yeah, we're talking about traveling.
Yeah.
We're on the set of American Soul. You show me pictures of Paris. I said, that's my favorite city in the world.
Oh my God.
John and I went back in 1999. That's 24 years ago. Yeah. Oh my gosh, time flies.
It does.
But, when I graduated from beauty school, I was saying, I'm ready to go see the world. And I had no idea I was even going to be doing hair for movies and TV.
Wow.
But I think that's my big dream is I'd love to do a movie or a TV show here that has to do hard exteriors in Paris or in Chicago, anywhere.
Oh yeah, anywhere. I love to travel too. That's one thing me and you have in common. I will go and explore the world. It's so beautiful out there.
Yes, it is.
So thank you so much for joining me
today.
You're
very welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.